Ooh, the thunderstorms are coming through today, but that's okay. I quit smoking and I got my Alp because I need my nicotine, but I don't need the tobacco. I don't need all the issues that come with the tobacco. I got Alp, and you need to get Alp too. Visit the link in the description below, get 10% off your Alp, and if you order $70 or more, free shipping. Alp is the best nicotine pouch I've ever tried. I've tried tons of them. I can name them, but they're not, none of them are as good as Alp. When I went through a situation about a month ago where I didn't have my Alp, I was miserable trying to balance my world on the backs of those lesser nicotine pouches. So get in the link in the description below, 10% off, $70 or more, and you get free shipping. I order right at $70. That's 3 logs, 15 rolls, lasts me a whole month, recurring order. So I get free shipping every month and I get my nicotine. And it's cheaper than the stuff you buy in the stores. So Alp is less expensive and better than what you find in the stores. So go to the link in the description, get your 10% off, plus order $70 or more and put it on recurring order. Therefore, you don't have to think about it ever again and have Alp shipped directly to your door. Therefore, you have your nicotine and you get your discounts. Go to the link in the description below. Thanks, guys. I'm so glad I quit smoking. I'm so glad I found Alp. And hopefully, we can record without any too many interruptions, even though it's storming outside. Coming up, Buck Johnson. You know him, you love him. Favorite of the show. Let's go, baby. As promised, here he is, Mr. Buck Johnson. What's up, buddy?
Tommy, what's going on, sir?
Not much. How's life treating you?
It's going pretty well, I have to say. Uh, Lent is done, which is nice for the old dietary palate. Um, yeah, but yeah, our church expanded. It's going well. So, and outside of church, things are going smooth as well. I can't complain, and if I could, no one would care.
Well, you have a new design, t-shirt design that just
Oh
came out.
yeah, shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um, Yeah, a friend of mine, Alex, I should give him a shout out. Alex Brasco, who goes to Father Turbo's parish, came to me with the idea, and he said, "I'll pay half the down payment or whatever that is you give, the deposit or whatever." And I was like, "You don't have to." "No, I want to." "Okay." So lo and behold, we did it. Ritual Printing Company that does Death to the World and Holy Name. They did all the work and looks rad. So yeah, I'm excited.
yeah, it's cool, man. It looks great.
I was
My
a
mom,
little, I was like, no one's gonna buy this. And he's like, yes, they will. And then before like the first ad, I had like 20 gone. I was like, okay, maybe. But then yeah, we'll see. Maybe it plateaus at some point. And yes, your first customer was Mrs. Elizabeth Salmons.
oh, was she the first one?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. No, because she had told me, like, she's like, did you see Buck has a new shirt? And I was like, yeah. Um, I don't know where to buy it though. It says on I think it was on YouTube. I saw that it said email you, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, I'm just gonna text him. Like, so I'm like, where does my mom buy the shirt? So
Yeah, that was I'd like jumped the gun because I was so excited to show it, and then Bobby still hadn't put together the graphic on the web page, and he's like, "Hold on, I got to do all this." So yeah, now it's ready.
yeah, but he was still ahead of schedule. So
Yes, which is
Bobby's
not always the
Bobby's
case.
awesome.
Yeah, he's great,
Yeah, yeah.
and he's handsome.
He is a sexy son of a bitch, isn't he?
Oh,
So, all right. Well, before we start going down the rabbit hole of fantasies about Bobby, hello, Bobby. How are you, buddy? I know you're listening to this shit.
I hope so.
Um, I've noticed, I heard Megan Kelly, she had, Billy Baldwin and some other guy on. Well, they had done a documentary on fentanyl. And so they were talking about like all the, fire, the people in the fire department that they had interviewed and talked with and some of their experiences. So I really wanted to get kind of like a, first person point of view, your perspective on what you're seeing out there as far as fentanyl. I don't know how bad it is in Texas as opposed to other states. I don't know if it's more prominent in like, let's say New Mexico or California than it is in Texas.
I, I suspect it is
Yeah.
just because. our borders, at least, it seems like it's certainly more under control than California's.
Mm, yeah.
That's
So,
part of it.
well, and they were talking about how, okay, so there's a spot up near Niagara Falls because there's like all these places up there to go picnicking and stuff like that because Niagara Falls it's like right on the border. So there's talking about there's a border crossing up there in the Niagara Falls area where typically they just allow people to cross if they have a backpack and they're going for picnicking because like it's been something that people have done forever. Well, now like the cartels have sent their mules up to Canada and they're smuggling it across at that border crossing. And so there's all this stuff going on with fentanyl and it's kind of like a couple of months ago, I don't know if I talked to you about this or not, but a couple of months ago my brother who we hadn't heard from in years, got in touch with my mom, and he's homeless. He's been in had drug issues for since he was probably a teenager. I mean, he's had drug issues for a long time, and he's homeless. He lives in on the streets in Colorado, in Denver, I believe. And you know, I was thinking about it. As I'm hearing these stories about the fentanyl and everything, that that he could very well be one of these people that into falls victim to this fentanyl crisis. So when you're answering these calls, and I know working for the fire department, there's a lot of different calls that you're answering, whether it's accidents or house fires or medical emergencies. What how do you what is your general overview look at how this fentanyl epidemic is like impacting Texas?
It's not, maybe in Austin, it's not as bad as some of the places because I did hear about the explosion of it. The discussion's been like the last year, it seems. I will say it's been discussed within the fire department. And just for those listening, I'm not saying which fire department I work for, so don't even get me to go there, but I can't. But anyway, um, geez, I bet 3 or 4 years ago they were warning us about it, and the cops were telling us about it because they were saying if they even touch it, like they put on gloves now, latex gloves. If they touch it, it can literally knock them on their ass like that. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this can't be real. And then slowly you start hearing about it in the news. Then I would see it, you see side effects from, let's say, an overdose or a drug intake that you're like, this shouldn't be the way this guy is presenting based on what they said he did. So that's when we start figuring out like they're mixing it with something, and I don't know what it is. And I haven't seen it mixed with heroin yet. The heroin waves come and go. Like you'll make
Mm-hmm.
calls like boom, 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 and then nothing for like 2 years.
Right.
But you see it with other stuff. There's a street drug called K2 that a lot of homeless people do because it's very cheap. And it presents in different ways and depending on what the mixture of it is. I don't like it that some people call it synthetic marijuana. That gives you a totally wrong picture of what it might do.
Mm.
Because you're like, oh, it's just like weed. No, it's not. It might look like it when you're rolling it up or something, but the effects are not.
That's
And
that
that's
stuff you buy at head shops, right?
correct. And
Yeah.
the companies were the FDA would come after it, and then the companies are like, well, we'll change one little molecule or something, then it's different. So that's not illegal, the new thing. And so that's why you would see those overdoses present in many ways. And you started seeing some of that seemingly mixed with fentanyl laced stuff because instead of just like puking or kind of leaning on a wall, these people were out or dead. And
Mm.
it's like that can't just be K2. Why is it? There's no way. And that's when you started seeing like, okay, some of the stuff they're doing is laced with fentanyl. And that's the first thing I saw. I want to ask you a question real quick about
Mm.
your brother. A friend of mine is going through this right now with their brother. What, I mean, yours is homeless. The guy I know, or the brother, is about to face that problem.
Mhm.
What, I guess you can't do anything.
You
I don't
can't.
know.
My parents for years had put him up and tried to help him out. And he ended up going to prison, and I don't remember how much his first stint in prison was, whether it was 5 years, 10 years, whatever it was. Then he came and stayed with me when he got out of prison. He came and stayed with me and my second wife and my kids, and that went well. For he got a job and was doing okay for a little while, and then I mean they just fall back into the same routine. And when he was staying with me, he wasn't doing like I mean he would get a hold of a Xanax every once in a while or something like that, but it wasn't anything like crazy. It wasn't he wasn't dragging heroin to my house, which he was doing when he stayed with my parents, especially in Waco. For some reason, in Waco, heroin's very available. It's easily accessible
Yeah.
in the Waco area. Um, so, but when he was staying with me in Cyprus, he was, I mean, smoking a lot of weed and drinking, but he wasn't doing like hard drugs. Like I said, other than like maybe Xanax or something like that, he'd get his hands on every once in a while. But we tried to help him out. I mean, he just never did find it. He lost that one job that he was working when he first was staying with us. And once he lost that job, he just stopped looking. He was just like, I'm like, I don't need to do this. And we tried to help him. We tried to like give him a place to stay and make sure he was taken care of and kind of motivate him to do stuff. But he wasn't willing. He didn't want to do it. You know,
Yeah.
his mentality was that if I go look for a job, even having very little to no job experience, um, I should be making, you know, uh, 10, $15,000 a month. And I'm like, that's just not reality, man. You're not going to just jump into the job market and make money. That's not the way it works. And so he didn't want to work his way up through the job market. Um, he could make more money selling drugs.
Mm.
And so he was selling and he was using and he was selling and he was using. And then he ended up robbing the grocery store near our house there in the Cypress area. And the little manager, poor little girl, she was probably 18, 19 years old, little bitty thing. And she followed him outside and she said, "Hey, we called the cops. You wait a minute. They're on their way." And he turned around and he hit her. And when he did, my
Oh,
brother's big. He's bigger than me. My brother's like, at the time he was 6'2", maybe 250, you know?
oh, geez.
Yeah. He's a big guy. And he turned around and he hit her. And when he did, it like shattered the bones in her face, like her cheekbones and her nose. I think it broke her orbital socket. And she ended up having to have several surgeries, from what I understand. So the cops picked him up one day on the side of the road. He was barred out. That's street term for he was on Xanax. It was in the middle of the
Hard, yeah.
day. Yeah, and he was barred out and walking down the median, and the cop pulled up to him. He tried to give him a fake name, and they ended up figuring out who he was, arresting him, and I think he served 10 or 12 years for that.
Damn.
Yeah, yeah, they got him, but I mean, it wasn't his first offense. He had been in and out of jail since he was like 15 years old, 14 years old. Like he had a lot of issues. So, and yeah, man, I don't know if there's much you can do if the person doesn't want help. It's really hard, and it's really hard because you love this person and you want to put your best foot forward. Actually, I'll tell you, I hadn't mentioned this to anybody, even my mom. So when she hears this is the first she's going to hear of it. But I texted Father Turbo whenever he had contacted my mom, and I said, I told him what was going on with my brother, and I mean, just like right before he got in touch with my mom, some dude had hit it. I don't know if he got in a fight or the guy jumped him, was trying to rob him. I don't know what was happening. The streets are kind of weird. So, but the guy hit him in the mouth with a tire iron, knocked all his teeth out,
Damn.
and he spent some time in the hospital with that. And then he had some other health issues. I'm not sure exactly what they were, but so I contacted Father Turbo and I was like, "Look, this is what's going on." He just contacted my mom. I don't know if this is like reaching out just say, "Hey, I'm still alive," or "Hey, here's a guilt trip for you," or "Hey, I'm ready to straighten my life up." Not sure what we're looking at here, but when it comes to the prodigal son, do you pursue him or do you wait for him? And he goes, "You always wait for him." So I mean, just as far as like Father Turbo goes, when you have a situation with somebody in your family who's going through these things, as difficult as it is to watch somebody spiral, go out of control, and completely destroy their life, you can't do it for them, man. And I hate saying it that way, but that's just the reality of the situation. And it's heartbreaking to see it, but there's nothing more heartbreaking than to give yourself false hope
Mm,
by them giving you all the right, lip service in the
mhm.
process of them dragging you down with them. And before you know it, you're down in that darkness and you're like, what the fuck do I do now? You
Yep.
know? And so, yeah, I mean, I don't like to tell people don't care or don't love those people, but you can't do it for them. And it's sad and it sucks. And it's a hard thing to see.
Yeah. Sometimes that is loving them,
Yeah.
letting them come back.
Right. Yeah, but I mean that's the best advice I can give because I mean I've seen people in my family struggle with people and never let them go and just be taken advantage of over and over and over and over again. I've seen what my mom went through. I know what I went through with my brother. Like it's just you can't do it for them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. And they're a grown man. So it's like, you got to make,
Yeah, but you
got to
wouldn't know
make
it
your
by
own bed
talking
here.
to them. And like with me when I look at my brother, man, and I still see the freaking little short, chubby 4-year-old kid with long curly hair and big brown eyes, and I'm like, I don't even see you as a man, but like you're doing all these crazy things. And I think it's hard to kind of separate yourself from that emotional attachment to what was versus what is.
Yep. That makes sense. Just, yeah, it's tough sometimes, but life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But on the fentanyl,
Yeah. Sorry to get side.
no, that's fine, man. I don't mind taking a little detours, you know that. But back on the fentanyl. So have you had to deal with any of like overdoses or run into people that you thought were like, this dude's out of his fucking mind, like, because you brought up K2 a while ago, and I remember what was it in the early 2000s? It was bath salts. That was the designer drug
Yeah.
that was being sold out of all the head shops. I remember that story that came out of Florida about that guy that tried to eat that other dude's face or something. And so it was like this whole idea that bath salts would
Yep.
turn you into a cannibal. And then I
Yep.
remember
Yeah.
um, in the 90s, we had angel dust, right? And so,
Yep.
and that was huge back then. And then they
That's
were
what Rodney King was on.
yeah. And well, and then you had fry sticks. Remember, they were taking the marijuana and they were dipping it in embalming fluid and smoking it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is
Like
wild. The stuff
like so
people,
those designer drugs and this kind of like these like hardcore like laced like drugs that people get a hold of, they've been getting a hold of them for a long time. And there's been like, and I never understood the whole perspective of selling your customers something that's going to kill them. Like it just never made sense to me.
I know. Yes, that's what it's fascinating about the fentanyl stuff. It's like this is killing your customer base and it's not looking attractive to other people. But again, the looking attractive thing, it's just you start to learn. I hear people I know personally that do drugs. It's like, well, now you got to be more careful about who your source is. If it's weed, of course, they can lace anything. If it's weed, now it's very very trendy. Probably for the best to grow your own or at least know your grower. Um, I still haven't heard of shrooms being hit with fentanyl yet. But it seems to be lower level stuff like the K2. Um, Again, why you would want to kill your customers off? Your customer base for K2 is homeless people,
Mm.
but they're still buying it and it's still getting you money. It seems strange. I've never understood that mindset. And it's so deadly that, of course, depending on the concentration of it or whatever, but when the cop said if we touch it and like pick up a joint or whatever with it in there, it can kill us. And that was a new thing to me. I'd never seen or heard them saying, and they're warning us like, make sure you have gloves on, don't touch the stuff they're smoking or whatever drug they did. That was definitely a big sort of public service
Mm,
announcement, like literally for the public servants.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's something like the size of a grain of salt can create an
Yeah.
overdose. Like it, you're measuring. This is something you're measuring in milligrams. Like you're not even measuring grams, right? And so I know that there's been issues with cutting cocaine with
Yep.
fentanyl,
Yeah.
and like you said with the heroin. I haven't heard anything about the heroin, but I don't have my foot in that world anymore. Like back in the day, I was kind of in and out of that world back when I was younger. And so I hung out with a lot of people that did drugs. And I did drugs up until I started having kids. And then it was like, okay, now I got to keep a job. So, because I got to pay all, I got to feed these damn things. So, and, but, but I always had friends that were into the drug world. And I heard a guy the other day say, I don't remember who was interviewing him. It might have been Megan Kelly again because she's done a few episodes where she just talked fentanyl, and he was saying he goes, yeah, he goes, well, like the high of doing like hit a bump in a line of cocaine is great, but it's like 100 times better if it has a little bit of fentanyl in it. And he
That
was
is,
like, and he goes, technically it's true that the fentanyl the size of a grain of salt can actually cause an overdose, but you build up a tolerance to it over time. And it's not like from what I understand, it's not medical grade fentanyl. So the fentanyl that's on the streets is dirty. It's not medical grade. So it's not the same thing they would give a cancer patient or this,
right.
that, and the other. It's a different grade of fentanyl. And it's actually cooked in like kind of like a crack house type situation.
Yeah. You build up your tolerance. That's not really a tolerance I'd care to like work on the
Right.
buildup. Where it's like, what
Yeah.
if you mess up one time, then you're done.
Well, see, the thing about drugs, I mean, like I don't know how many drugs you've ever done in your life, but the thing, anytime you talk to an addict, like somebody who's addicted to heroin or addicted to cocaine, who it's because they're chasing that first high again.
And you'll
And so
never get the first
you
one.
never get the first high. So what they do is they start lacing it with other things trying to match it. And so when you hear somebody go, yeah, like doing cocaine's great, but doing cocaine with a little fentanyl in it is 100 times better. I can hear what he's saying. He's saying it's getting me closer to what I was trying to find.
Right. And when that one is the one where you lace it with just a touch of fentanyl, then that's like this new kind of crazy badass high that you weren't getting before. And so, but then the next time you do, it's like, well, now I have to do that again. Maybe like a
Yep.
touch more, and then it's like, and now he's dead because he hit
Mm,
that threshold, or his body's like, nope. Or he got some that was cooked even dirtier than whatever that, it's like,
mm,
are you getting it from the same people? It's just once they're doing that sort of stuff on the street and the people, I've been on busts, drug houses and stuff. It's just the seediness and the disgustingness that you're walking into and around. I mean, I assume there's some nice ones, at least in the movies, where it's like these naked women where you can't touch anything or whatever, like New Jack City. But some of the stuff I've seen is really um, seedy and kind of it's like when you see a halfway house with prostitutes or girls that are getting basically sold out of there. It's just like soul crushing and kind of
mm,
not kind of. It's just sad.
mm.
It's once you become Orthodox too, you see like the old me was like, oh, porn's okay. But then when you see like the underbelly of like what's really driving that industry, it's so like, how can that turn you on anymore? So it's just sort of like that. Maybe you see things in a different perspective.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. It's a I've been watching that show on Netflix, Warrior. Have you watched that yet?
Lawyer?
Warrior.
Warrior, negative. I'm not.
No, it's really good. It was apparently it was like taken out of Bruce Lee's like memoirs and like some of the notes, and it was a script he was working on.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I just finished the third season, which there's only right now there's only three seasons released. I'm hoping there's going to be a fourth because it kind of leaves you out there on a cliff's edge. There's no like conclusion. So hopefully there's another one coming out. But you think about like the opium dens that they show in like the 1800s, like San Francisco, which is where this takes place in Chinatown and in San Francisco in the 1800s. And you're like, yeah, that's not what a drug house looks like. You know,
No.
like remember that there was I think was it Planet Terror? I think it was a Robert Rodriguez movie that had Lindsay Lohan in it, I believe it was, where her dad was a governor and he had somebody come and drag her out of a drug house, and she was laying on this like piss stained mattress,
Yeah.
like
That,
surrounded by needles, and yeah, that's what a drug house looks
yeah.
like.
And it's the mattress. It's always like these thin mattresses on the floor, too.
Oh, it's yeah, it's the prison mattresses,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
what you get in basic training, you know?
Yes. Yes, that. It's gross. It's almost like the movie idea of a whorehouse. It's like that HBO show or whatever that used to be on with that libertarian guy that was like the guy running it, and all these pretty women, or the things that you
Oh, what
actually,
was it? Was it the Bunny House or
yeah, Bunny Ranch.
Bunny Ranch? That's what. Yeah, I remember that.
But then long time ago, I remember in my old territory, there was this, it's one of these buildings, this businesses where to keep it PG, a man can go in the room and pay the lady and whatever goes on, goes on. But it's sold as if it's like a strip club, but it's not.
Mm,
And it's gross, dirty, seedy. This girl was, it's 24 hours and there was some drug deal that went wrong and a girl got beaten to death with a baseball bat by another girl, by one or two girls. And it's just like, okay, this is not what they showed me on TV at the Bunny Ranch. It's like when you realize the movie version versus like the disgusting underbelly, the sad aspect of some of these things. It's gross. And
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, well, the massage parlor you get a happy ending at is never in River Oaks or the
no,
Heights.
right.
It's like it's next to the biker bar.
Yeah. Those rich guys in River Oaks or the Heights have to drive their nice cars into the seedy area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, one
yeah.
of those places just got busted by my ex-wife and her business partner own a salon in downtown Austin, and they figured out right next door. The business moved out that was in there, and it was this old like 20s house, and uh, an Asian happy ending massage place moved in, and it took them a while. They kept like, why are only men coming to this thing? And like, oh, it's a massage parlor, but there's not really any signs. And so her business partner found these message boards where like the guys that are into these sort of things kind of trade notes or whatever. And they found this, and she's like, son of a gun, it is this place right next door. And they found out all what was going on and this level of services, which were quite extensive. I didn't know they did some of these things in those places. And it took a while for one, APD said, not interested, don't care. All these
Mm.
signs businesses have, like, call this number for child trafficking. They did, and they're like, well, like, no one cared. And so finally, the Texas uh, Department of Public, the DPS troopers, they took the case, and it had to build up for like a month. And they finally busted them, and they went to my ex-wife and her business partner and said, it turns out the people running it were laundering millions of dollars through that place for other stuff. It wasn't
Mm.
just like a one-stop shop. They just were extra into pleasing men. Like the women were almost forced to an extent
Mm.
to work there, and it was all kinds of other seedy stuff.
I've always wondered because all those places are run by like Asians, and I've always wondered every time I pass them, I'm like, I wonder how many of these people are actually like completely engulfed in the Chinese mafia.
It was some sort of, yeah, obviously illegal, but I mean more illegal than just the actual act of the massage part. But yeah,
Right.
the people that were running it that weren't there in that building had all kinds of stuff going on.
Mm.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's
In like
nuts.
the underbelly of society that you don't always see like It's like, oh, it's just a family guy getting a little extra tug at the end of his massage. Like, okay, but the stuff going on under it's just disgusting.
Yeah. Well, that's where the gray market happens.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep. Yeah. These guys were just agorists.
Yeah, and it's wild, man, because you'll like I remember in Houston when I lived there, I guess I was probably like 17, 18. Uh it was after I moved out of my parents' house, so it was right around that time, 17, 18 years old. And there was a place down Highway 6, right? So if you're coming down Highway 6, I lived in Bear Creek, but if you go on the other side of I-10, you're heading towards Memorial. And off on the right-hand side, there was an ice house.
Hmm.
It was a little biker bar. It was just an ice house with the garage doors that opened up.
Yep.
Everybody would park their bikes right there, and you could see everything that was going on in there. And I remember stopping there one time and having a beer and hanging out. And next door there was a massage parlor, and there was nothing else. There was this like whole strip center, but every other building was empty except for the massage parlor.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. Hard to if you're someone known in the area, it's hard to go disguise where you're going in that case. Like, I promise I'm going to the groceries. Oh, there's nothing down there. Damn it. Oh,
Yeah, I remember. Well, it's like okay, so there's a St. John's Orthodox Church, which is it's our little satellite in Lake Charles. It's right it's right off a main strip, but it's in a strip center, and like next door to it's like a liquor store.
oh
And the other
wow.
side of it's a bondsman or something like that. It's like something like from Better Call Saul.
Yes. Yeah. Get your bond, get out of jail, save your soul, and have some celebration liquor afterwards. That's not the
Yeah.
one where it's one of the Lord of Spirits guys, is it? Not that one.
No, 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 no. He's in Lafayette.
Okay.
So that's from where I'm at right now, it's about 2.5 hours.
Okay.
That's Archangel Gabriel, I want to say. I, I think that's his church in Lafayette is Gabriel. Yeah, and so Father Michael, who's the priest at my church, is actually does one Saturday a month at St. John's, and that's the only time they're open.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just
One
one Saturday a
Saturday.
month. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
One Saturday a month. That's all the time they're open?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because a lot of those people in Lake Charles will travel the 45 minutes to Beaumont to go to service. It might be it's a little bit further than 45 minutes to Beaumont, but it's about 45 minutes from my house. So it's about an hour from Beaumont because it takes me about 20 minutes to get to church.
Okay. Got
Yeah.
it.
So, but yeah, it's right there off of like 210, right in the middle. But so it was interesting a couple of years ago. Um, one so there's a I never heard of this before. Maybe you have, but I always found this interesting. I never had a chance to talk to anybody about this. So we have a monk that shows up to our church like maybe once or twice a year
Mhm.
around Pascha or around Christmas time, right? Nativity. And but he's like he doesn't have a monastery. He stays in his house in Lake Charles.
Mhm.
And it's weird because he drives this like nice F-150, but he shows up and it's like this monk, and he's just kind of got the, like lay of the land. He kind of rules the coop when he's there, and Father Michael kind of like serves him and does whatever he needs. And it was one of those situations where when I first saw him, I was like, who is this guy? Like,
Mhm.
you know, but come to find out he's a monk, and he doesn't have a monastery. He stays in his house in solitude, praying constantly throughout the day.
There was some of that on, I think they call that a skeet. When we were on Mount Athos, of course, we were at the monasteries, but we stopped by this monk's house, a house, again, same thing. And, I don't want to put it out there too much, not the finest of living quarters, if you will. Um,
Yeah, if you've ever been to Lake Charles, you kind of get how this guy's living.
okay, probably not too far off then. And Father Peter was like, "Yeah, these are skeets," and so he's not in a monastery. In fact, I think there was a section out there with a few houses like that where the guys, what was Father Peter? It was a specific term. They weren't. concelebrating maybe with, they were out of communion with the patriarch or something. They were
Mhm.
like protesting because of maybe some sort of geopolitical issues with
Mhm.
Ukraine or something. And so they were just in their own little house, and I was kind of like, why isn't he part of the monastery? I didn't quite get that. I thought like if you're a monk, we'll just go to the monastery and be with your brothers or whatever. But yeah,
Right.
all the same thing out there, just pockets of little spots where a guy would just live in solitude all by himself at basically a old beat up house.
Mm. But anyway, back to where I was saying, it was like, so there's like this group that comes out of Lake Charles into Beaumont for service for liturgy. It's about an hour. Um, and one of the people, I don't know who it was. All I know is that somebody donated 6 acres to St. John of Damascus, the church there in Lake Charles. And so they've done the groundbreaking. I don't know when the building is going to start, but they're going to be building and looking for a priest for Lake Charles. Um,
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
So it's wild to see like the extent to which this little like like little freaking organization, this little community of immigrants that have come in from Syria and Lebanon and created this church in like 1825 in Beaumont, Texas. And then they've just created these huge satellites all over the place. I know St. Joseph's opened another church in like the Rosenberg area.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah. So you have like St. Joseph's and then their satellite, which is in Rosenberg. Then there's St. George in Houston. And then um, there's Archangel Gabriel down in Lafayette, and then you have St. John of Damascus and Lake Charles. And it all started from this little community of Orthodox Christians out of Beaumont in the 1800s.
Yeah, that's a trip. And
It's wild.
what you would think of growing up in Texas when you think about Beaumont.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like whenever I like started like finding out the history of the church, I was like, what?
Yeah.
You remember I sent you
Yep. I
that
love
that sheet. That thing's really cool. Father Michael has it in his office now, so it's not out for the public to see all the time anymore. But they haven't upgraded it either. I don't think it's been upgraded since the new bishop's taken over.
that.
Um, was it Saba?
Okay.
So yeah. So, but yeah, they're really a stickler on keeping track of the history and all that.
It's the history, it's
Mm,
like Peter was the first name on that piece
mm,
of paper.
yeah, it's
Jeez,
wild.
it is amazing.
And
Like
and and the guy who
Cyprian,
did it still goes to the church actually, who actually designed it. And I mean, it's just the way it's written. It's so beautiful. Like that, he took forever on each letter. I mean, it's just gorgeous.
the tedious nature of that skill almost gives me like a form of anxiety. Like I just, it's like I'd be thinking like, oh look, my fan's dirty. Let me clean my fan real quick. Like you're finding everything else to do, but then other than like write this perfect letter careful, just
Yeah.
over the seconds and minutes and hours. Crazy. But yeah, God bless. I'm glad people do that. It's the history. That's one of the things that's like, wait a second. That's Peter from the Bible. He's the first. And then all these names, that's the current bishop. These bishops uh, gave the priests their office, if you will. Like, so, and then the priests baptize you. So you can trace your lineage back to Peter, who could trace it to Christ. It's like
Mm.
amazing, unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, and it's wild because, okay, so one of the things I found like so interesting was whenever I was first like looking into Orthodoxy, much like you, I was listening to a lot of Father Turbo. Like anything he did, I was listening to. And one of the people he talks about all the time is Saint Silouan,
Hmm.
right? Well, so Saint Silouan was Father Michael's godparents, godparent. Like, yeah, it was just like it all traces back. You can trace everything back to
Yeah.
the saints and to the history of the church.
Yes, it's literally a bloodline done through Christ's blood, basically.
Mm,
Just
yes.
and I would feel cheated if I belonged to a church that did not have that. If that exists, then I would just think I'm going to go over there then because I want to be part of that same bloodline. It's just it's one of the coolest parts of the entire thing.
Oh man, did you hear Jay Dyer on Pierce Morgan the other day?
I did. I did.
When he said Katy Perry should be the
Yeah.
next pope,
Yeah.
I had to stop my truck for a minute. I was laughing so hard. I was like, you have all these like serious Catholics like
Yes.
in this conversation, and then you have Jay Dyer, who's gonna do nothing but just throw shade constantly.
Yes. They told him, Pierce or the producers or someone told him to bring the sass, was his quote. So he said, I brought it. And I think at that point, the black dude, he's not even Catholic, but he said he was a bishop of some sort. And then the other dude, the Anglican guy, and then there was the Catholic, well, the Catholic, I guess, was Roger Stone, was one of them.
Roger Stone, and then Bannon was on as well.
The black dude kept throwing out these ridiculous points. And so I think Jay just thought, this guy's kind of silly anyway. I'm going to do a little bit of trolling.
Mm,
And the Katy Perry thing was, it was funny too, because the other guys, I don't know if you saw it or you were just hearing it, but as soon as he said that, they're like, "Ugh," shaking their head, like, I'm trying to be serious here,
mm,
while they're talking about the guy should be more left wing and more inclusive. And Jay's like, okay, this is retarded. I'm going to say Katy Perry.
mm. No, I wasn't watching. I was just listening because I was driving, but I was just like, what the hell just happened there? Like, I don't know. I mean, Jay Dyer, he makes a living out of like debating these people. You would think they would have some sort of idea what they're walking into nowadays, but it's like they're totally oblivious to what he brings to the table.
100%. They won't be, well, they're not now, but yeah, I find it, it's like the phenomenon of when Bill Crystal agreed to debate Scott, and we're all like, he must not know who Scott is, sort of thing.
Mm. And then it
But
was obvious he had no idea who
yeah, he
Scott
did
was.
not.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know how much Scott talked about the aftermath in public, so I'm not going to get into all that. I know we have a Libertarian Institute chat and we talk about all kinds of things. So sometimes it's hard to separate what was said publicly and what was said in private. So, but yeah,
I know when he was leaving, Scott wanted to shake his hand or say thanks or something or other, something cordial, and he said like, "I don't need to waste another word with you,"
yeah,
or
I've given you enough of my time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if that was public or not, so I don't want to just like start throwing that out there because I know there are things that Scott and I have talked about that are not public, like Robbie Martin. But like, we're not going to get go all sideways on that.
Yeah.
But so what do you make of we have the 100 days. Everybody's been doing like a review of the last 100 days of Trump, and I don't know. I mean, I know you listen to most of my episodes because you and I talk quite a bit. We'll chat about it. So I don't have like I don't have a real hard line one way or the other on what I think Trump's doing. I think what he's doing is going to take
Yes.
years to see the results. But how do you score him up to date? I think I'd give him around a B or a B plus maybe. Um, just because I think there are mistakes he's making, but I think he surrounded himself with better people this time, which is making it a little bit easier for people to swallow what's happening.
Yes.
I'm thinking mainly of Besant. I really like Besant a lot. Um, his episode, I don't know if you listen to All In podcast, but
I
when he
need
was on All In, oh, he was awesome. I loved it.
Matt and Jason speak of that podcast quite a bit, and I haven't my podcast, listening as probably with yours, it's so full. So sometimes I forget even about that one because I don't think of
Mm,
it often. But I need
yeah.
to. I would give him a B plus. I
Okay.
probably, and we get tempted to when it's such a new phenomenon that he represents, especially the second time around rather than the first. And he gets like Tulsi and these people. even Jay Bhattacharya on a lower level, but still he's in the administration. What Linda McMahon seems to be doing with the Department of Education, what RFK is attempting to like, things like this are so different from anything we've ever seen that it gets us spoiled. Like, well, hurry up and do this. Well, when are you going to do this? It's like um, low time preference might help to this
Mm,
as far as like the outlook of what's going on. Because again, it's such a different thing that, yeah, you said these people keep doing their 100 days, and I know Dave Smith did one, and it's part of me hearing it's like that 100 days for Trump is almost pointless because it's such a paradigm shift of what's going on that again, we're not maybe we need to give him like 100 month, grade or something like that.
mm.
It's kind of like in football when which team did better in the draft? Well, I don't know. No one's even played football yet. This is the off season. How would we know that? And so it's sort of, I think, a longer term outlook is better. Certainly there's blips, but again, the media is looking for every sort of what they would perceive that others would think is a mistake, and then they jump on that, like the signal chat or whatever. Yeah, it's like that was odd, I suppose, but it wasn't like the disaster that they're making it out to be, in my personal opinion. I wish I could get in the signal chat with JD Vance. It'd be cool. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. But I would say B plus. I think there's going to be a peace deal in the next, I would say before the end of summer with Russia and Ukraine would be massive. It's funny, there's little things like even the Department of Education, like the 2005 libertarian me is like, "Psh, I can't believe we're talking about this. Like, this is what I wanted a long time ago. Harry Brown
Mhm.
was talking about it. Michael Badnarik was talking about it. And it's like, they're just casually like, yeah, we're going to close the Department of Education at the federal level. It's like, that would have been the biggest thing in the world to me in 2005. And now I'm like almost spoiled, like, yeah, of course you are. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, now what next? So there's certainly things we've never seen before. And it's fascinating. A lot of people say, like, he's okay, but I just don't like the way he acts. And for me, like, that's the main draw. I think the way he acts is one of the best parts of him. I understand
Mm.
he can be his own worst enemy at times, but he's funny. He's a bit of a troll. The thing dressed up as the Pope, I thought was funny. I don't know. Yeah,
I heard about that, but I didn't see it. I haven't been on X though, so like,
well, I rarely think that the Babylon Bee is funny anymore. It's so boomery in a way. But let me see if I can. They mocked it a little bit. And it was absolutely hilarious if you come from an evangelical family, which I do. Evangelicals furious after Trump's shares sacrilege photo of himself,
Bible man.
Bible man. Some Bible character.
Make Trump the asparagus from Veggie Tales or something.
Right, right. Yeah, it's certainly, and if you can think of where we'd be if the other result would have happened,
Mm.
Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, that I think we'd look at this and go, it's an A plus. It's almost what's not happening, what could have been happening. You should look at it in that direction too. Um, we all have shows that are allowed to be on. They haven't come for the Russian church in America, things like that. We're still allowed to speak on X. Elon's not in jail. Tucker Carlson still has a show. So there's things that like side effects of the fact that he won and the other side didn't that I think are it's almost like the libertarian, the economic philosophy or discussion on the unintended consequences or the broken window fallacy. It's like we don't realize what could have happened that's not happening because it's not happening, right? Like Tucker Carlson, he's one of my favorites. He might not even have a show had Kamala Harris won. So
Right.
there's other ways to grade how Trump's doing, I think, than just like the actual policies that are coming down the line.
Did you hear the interview Megyn Kelly did with Tulsi Gabbard?
No, no.
So it sounds like,
I
and it
watched
was,
that. I have to go to confession after it, but I'll watch it.
it sounds like it was hinted at least that they're very close to proving that Peter Daszak from was it Global Health Alliance? Is that right?
Mhm.
Was directly involved in funding the creation of COVID.
That's not, is that the fat guy that's like pro
That's the
vaccine?
one that Fauci was giving all the money to for the
That's right.
research.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh,
Yeah. So
boy.
it sounds like they're very close to proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that all the funding that was going to Peter Daszak and Global Health Alliance was intended to create this coronavirus, to do gain of function on a bat coronavirus, which then became COVID-19.
Yeah, I think in the next couple of years, things that are beyond what we could even imagine right now are going to happen. And I know that sounds like, well, that's easy to say, but certain things like that, which again, had the other side won, would not, there's no question it would not happen.
Right.
So yeah, if they can get to some of the bottom of that, people still need to be more red pilled than they are on what went down, I think. Other than like, well, yeah, it turns out lockdowns didn't really work, or maybe the vax worked for some people. Like we're kind of glossing over, like, well, why did it all happen?
Mm,
And certain things that's kind of like we don't even discuss that part of it. So if they can get like that layer, those layers deep, we're going to end up going, well, there's an A plus.
mm. Well, and under RFK, HHS has now like done the exact same thing that Britain has done in gender affirming care and declared it as dangerous to children.
Excellent.
So, I mean, and this is stuff that like kind of flies under the radar. You're not hearing a lot of people talk about it. I mean, this is one thing that drives me crazy about all news, whether it's internet news or, mainstream news, right? So if I turn it over to like Breaking Points or The Hill, it all seems like the entire point is to find some negative story that they can hit Trump with. And it's like, yeah, but there are positive things. And if you would just be a little bit more balanced, people would take you a lot more seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's even to like Boomer Fox News, they focus sometimes, I'll turn it on and it's like, again, there's a lot of cool things that you could be bragging about rather than like, uh, it seems like there's sort of empty stories about, so could Trump really run for a third term? He sure joked about it. And they're saying it like it's funny or a positive light. It's like, I don't know, who cares? Like that's not really the story. Like
Mm.
there's doing some seriously groundbreaking things that you could discuss, but it's almost like those sort of details are
But
boring
it's
or
all it's almost like he knows exactly what to throw out there to get them off the scent of any real story that's happening.
that's true. Back to his thing about his supporters the last time said, "Oh, it's 4D chess," and it's like, well, was it? Didn't seem like it. Maybe it is now. There's part of me, even with the tariffs, like my libertarian old brain kicks in. I'm like, tariffs are bad, but I don't know. I've told myself just wait and see, and kind of maybe there is a plan here that's working out. Matt Erickson's very good at explaining some of these things, or actually finding people in the news or on X or whatever that are good at explaining it. And it's
Mm.
like, oh, see, there is something to this, and I'm just like, no, tariffs are bad. Um,
Well, there's the whole thing with the tariffs is it's very it's like everybody has the neo-lib perspective on economics, right? And the economics that you and I studied from Rothbard on was post tariff economics. Like this was like post Andrew Jackson. This was post World War II is what we studied. And so what I know what the results are of those economics, right? Like we've seen them for 100 years. This is what's going to happen. It's going to continue to gut out the middle class. My children, I have a 19-year-old that's working multiple jobs because he can't find a full-time job that pays, that anything he could live on. When I was 17, I was sandblasting and painting, working for a crane company, and he doesn't have that opportunity available to him to work his way up through the job market. So it's like we understand what these neoliberal kind of like perspectives on economics brings and delivers to the table. We don't know what's going to happen out of this. And this is what is driving me so crazy is the certainty everybody has. And every time somebody makes a prediction, that like a week later, they're completely wrong already.
Yep.
Like for not what was it, has it been 9, 10, maybe 11 days in a row? The stock market's been up.
Yep.
And like, but as soon as it dropped that one day, everybody was like, oh, it's the end of the world.
Yep.
And then suddenly it goes up for 10 days in a row. Everybody's quiet. Nobody talks
Yeah.
about it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's like the safe and effective, safe and effective. And if you take it, then your parents won't get sick. And it's like, then that just proves that, wait, that wasn't true. It's like no one comes out and goes, hey, I'm sorry we said all that stuff. That was a
Mm.
totally stupid.
Well,
It's
it's like
just,
that Chris Cuomo debating Dave Smith, you
yeah.
know. It was like, come on, dude. Like we have all the receipts.
Yep.
All you got to do is be like, yeah, I was fucking wrong. I was listening to the wrong fucking people.
Yeah. And getting paid by them to say these things.
Right.
Everyone, not everyone, but a lot of us would go, all right, I respect that. He's admitted that he was duped or he was duping us on purpose. But it's always this kind of like slick kind of backtracking and then kind of cloaking it. And it's like, well, but you got to expect and understand. It's like, dude, you're lying. So
Mm-hmm.
it's,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think you and I are on the same page, like BB plus for Trump in his first 100 days. I don't expect to see a whole lot. But here's one thing, and we can we can be as down as we want about the mRNA vaccine and all the effects that have come out. But the one thing Trump did do was during COVID, he got that damn thing out.
I know.
Yeah. And it probably would have been announced earlier had the pharmaceutical companies actually liked Trump. But they waited until after he lost the election to announce that, yeah, oh, okay, yeah, the mRNA vaccine is going to be available in like a month. And he got that thing out very quickly, where it usually takes 10 years to get a vaccine out. He got it out, what, like 18 months, I think it was, something like that. So all these people that are doubting that he's going to get these trade deals done in the next couple of months, I'm like, look what he did with the vaccines. He has a way of getting things done. Like
Yes.
he understands. And the one thing that I appreciate about the tactic he is taking is because one thing that's always driven me crazy, it's like if you want to correct these problems, like we hear Rand Paul talk about it or Thomas Massey talk about it, they bring bills forward and then those bills are pushed aside and never voted on. He brings all that stuff to the front, makes it front and center, and he's very nimble. He turns on a dime. He's like, look, okay, let's try this. Let's like, and he's trying different tactics, different techniques to get these like what he's signing them off as these orders, executive orders, but then he's pushing them over onto Congress saying, okay, now you need to codify this shit.
Yes.
Right. And so, but he's being very nimble and he's able to react. And you see, watching Trump work and operate, you're watching a very high level CEO that's very, very successful at being a deal maker, at like making money. And it's like, huh, this is what the government's been missing. The government, whenever the bureaucracy is running things, it's very slow, methodical. And by the time something happens, it's too late. And he's like, I'm not going to be stopped and stymied by the slowness of the bureaucracy. I want to be able to make a pivot at the blink of an eye. And
Yeah.
it's pretty impressive to watch the way he's reacting with the tariffs and the negotiations and stuff like that. And having, I mean, he's basically having press conferences daily. It's wild. It's like, man, I've heard more from Trump in the last 10 days or whatever it's been than I heard from Biden in 4 years.
And so is Putin, apparently. They said that Biden and him did not speak the
Didn't speak at all. Yeah.
entire. Unbelievable. So it's like, well, then a peace deal was not going to get done because you at least have to pick up the phone. Yeah, but to your point, that's why I think even I was talking to a buddy of mine who we would consider a normie, sort of moderate, doesn't love Trump, but doesn't hate him. But he said, yeah, he kind of annoys me with his attitude or whatever. But I think he can get a peace deal done just because, for whatever reason, more than other people, he has this ability to go and sit and talk to people and exchange ideas and figure out how to actually get something done in a quicker amount of time than other people. So yeah, it's nice, like even normies to an extent are like, well, they always, I don't like the way he acts or he's brash or whatever, but I think he can get stuff done, which again, had the alternative happened, then we could be going into nuclear war. So,
Mm, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Trump was going to be better than Kamala. And you brought up Fox being so boomery and talking about nonsense. One of the things that drives me crazy is Kamala keeps getting drug into the news. It's
yeah,
like, yeah, okay, so she spoke the other day. Who cares? Like,
that's exactly
nobody cared when she was running for president. None of us care that because after she lost, like
yes,
we don't care.
right.
Like if anybody cared about Kamala, she would have won, but we don't
Yes.
care. Nobody gives a shit about her. Or I'll hear and Megan Kelly falls into this a lot and it drives me crazy. She'll start talking about Michelle Obama's podcast.
Like no one's caring about Michelle Obama's podcast.
Dude, I get more listeners
Talking
than
about it.
Michelle Obama.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I have more listeners than Michelle Obama. So nobody gives a shit. The only people listening to Michelle Obama are y'all that are talking about Michelle Obama. So
Yeah.
you have
So it
something to
gives you
talk
something.
about on your show. Stop listening to it. Ignore her because none of us care.
No one cares about her or Kamala. Yeah, it's like I thought when she loses, which she did, she needs to be jettisoned off to the island of irrelevancy because that's kind of where she's at as far as the public cares. But again, yeah, it's like, oh, look what she wore at this thing. Can you believe it? Oh, look, voters or the Democrats say maybe they're going to run her. Like, no one cares. They're not running her. I mean, if
Mhm.
they run her again, they're idiots. So good, go for it. But it's just I'm not sure why she's in my news feed. Same with like Pete Buttigieg, and there's certain people. Joy Reid still pops up now and again. I'm like, no one cares about these people. It's weird. We've proven that to you by the demand we've given you for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point too that you just made talking about what people are wearing. I was like looking at YouTube today because I'm like, okay, like what's going on with the news? It's my day off. I can kind of like catch up on stuff that I kind of missed. So last week or when I was working, like Saturday, today's Beatrix's birthday, or yesterday was Beatrix's birthday. I'm sorry. And so Saturday we went to Space Center Houston, and then we went to Kima and ate and just hung out. And we spent the whole day doing that. Like I didn't have time to keep up what was going on with the news. So when I come in on a Monday and a Tuesday, I'm trying to catch up on everything that's going on over that went on over the weekends. You know, I'm out in the yard working, I'm listening to podcasts, listening to the news, et cetera, et cetera. And then half the news is about the Met Gala.
I didn't
Like
even know
I
what that was until I saw something on Twitter. And I was like, what? Who cares? What is this? I don't even. It's something that people dressed up at or something.
yeah, it's some sort of fashion fundraiser, like whatever that happens up in DC. And it's like, I don't care about that. Like, I don't care about that.
And I bet you most people do not.
Well, and it's like these people, it's they look like conservatives specifically, right? So you have like your Megan Kellys or your Glenn Becks or these people that'll talk about this Met Gala or Kamala Harris coming out to speak or whatever, and as if this stuff matters. And it's like you talk 6 days a week about how Trump won because he was able to encapsulate the working class like division in this country and all the working class kind of like problems with the way that the country's run, and then you want to spend the rest of the time talking about the people that lost the election. Let's stop talking about those people because the winning side is the working class side. So appeal to those people. Stop worrying about what these other people are doing because I don't care about the Met Gala. And if
Right.
Halle Berry had her vag fat hanging out the side of her dress, I don't give a shit about this. Like, who cares? You know? And it's like, okay, whatever, man. Cool. I'm not listening to your podcast because you're not talking about anything that's relevant to what I give a shit about. you know?
Yep.
And I'm kind of a, like you and I, because what we, the nature of podcasting is we're kind of news dorks. Imagine how other people feel that don't even pay attention to the news 90% of the time. And they're running through their feed trying to figure out, okay, what's going on in the world today? And they see this, and you got Megyn Kelly going, Halle Berry's showing side pube. It's like, what? Who cares? Like, nobody cares about Halle Berry. Now, Hollywood is freaking out because Donald Trump is putting 100% tariffs on movies made outside the US. Okay.
Right.
Are the movies going to be better than they have been the last 10 years? Because they've been sucking forever. like, like, I don't care about that. I care if the quality of the filmmaking is going to get better.
Yeah, do a deep dive into that part of it. Then I'd actually be interested in the quality of films going down or whatever. I had mentioned that to Jay Dyer when I had him on because he's a movie guy as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not what actors' opinions are or something
Right.
or strange. The whole vibe shift and election sort of showed like, oh, good. Regular voting people don't care about all this garbage and this kind of thin veneer of entertainment or arguing or who's wearing what. And yet, like, I can't believe Megyn Kelly's talking about that. She, of all people, should understand. She pivoted back to appreciating Trump. It's like, why did you do that?
Yeah, but she's a New York, liberal, always has been.
Yeah.
And so she thinks those things matter, you know?
So strange. What a weird bubble.
Yeah.
Maybe we're
Yeah.
in the weird bubble. I don't know.
Maybe we are. Maybe we
Yeah.
are.
But the working class was prevalent in that last election, to your point. So it's a big bubble.
Yeah. Well, and then you run into you like you're trying to appeal to Trump's audience and you seem to understand who that audience is, but you don't understand what makes them tick.
Right. Could you imagine if Tucker Carlson had a segment on the Met Gala? I would be like, what the fuck? Like it wouldn't even make any sense.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't make sense at all. Like I
Right.
couldn't imagine him even like you and I like
imagine him knowing what it is.
barely, barely know what it is,
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like whatever, who cares?
Yeah. Right.
It's just more degeneracy in our culture that 99.9% of people don't even like engage in.
Yeah.
Like that would be like, I mean, could you imagine like Chris Cuomo doing a segment on the debauchery of Mardi Gras? Like, no,
Right.
but that's basically what they're doing just for rich people.
For rich people, so that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
Now, I will give Megyn Kelly another tip of the hat though. She did this brilliant piece. It was like 13, 14 minutes long, and it was called Blonde Origin, making fun of the Blue Origin trip with Katy Perry and all them. And it
Oh.
was so funny. It was a satire. It was so funny. It was really good.
Good, good. Maybe I'll check that one out.
Yeah.
She's good at times, I will say. She's a good boomer whisperer.
Mm.
My parents love her, and she's not generic like Hannity. She is to an extent, but not to the same extent. So it's sweet. Like boomers, like my mom, will say, "Honey, Megyn Kelly talked about," and it's something that's a touch more edgy than you would normally hear from like Hannity or something. So it's
It depends on who she's talking to. Like, and I told Batya last week, whenever I talked to her, anytime she's on there, I'll listen to it because I like to hear Batya bring that kind of subject out of Megyn Kelly that she brings to the table. I really like Batya. She's really sweet. She's much more left than I am, but she's super sweet. And she's been so good to Gordon. I couldn't have a bad thing to say about her in the world. And so depending on who she has on, because she usually has like 2 to 3 guests on for a show. So she'll do like a 20 or 30 minutes with one person, and then she'll do like another 20 or 30 minutes with another, which is interesting. And they're usually covering news topics, similar to like Timcast IRL or something like that.
yeah, right.
But she's better at it as far as I'm concerned because she's
Agreed.
been in the journalistic role for so long. She understands how the news is made.
Yeah.
And so she kind of brings you like this insider. She just did an interview with Tucker Carlson last week too, which was really good.
I'll watch that then.
Yeah, that was really good. So depending on who she has on her show, I'll watch it. But sometimes she gets some of these people on that I'm just like, I know all you are going to be talking about is pop culture,
Yeah.
and like Hollywood and shit like that. And I don't want to hear it. I don't care. You
It
know.
would be that would be way over my head. In the same way like a Jay Dyer episode would be over Megyn Kelly's head. It's
Right.
just, I wouldn't even
Yeah.
know what they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I just don't care. I never have cared about it, so I don't care about it. And I'm just not going to watch it. I'm just like, all right, whatever. You know, you're losing this view for this episode, like whatever. Like I'll
You are
watch a
losing
lot.
my view, Megan.
Yeah. 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 Don't make me choose between you and, you know, what's her name? Anna Kasparian. No.
Yes.
But I mean, there's some I think some of these kind of like boomer neo neocons, what were neocons in the early 2000s, have made interesting turns with Trump, um, like
Yeah.
Glenn Beck.
Yep.
Some of the ways he's turned, especially since Trump's last election win. Um, in the first election, he was like dead set against Trump during the election. And I listened to him all the time driving truck. I listened to a lot of news radio back then. And so this was before podcasts like boomed and were everywhere. And so I, uh, I've noticed a big change in the way he sees things, and he's much more aligned with me now than he was in 2015, 2016.
He pissed me off because I forgot where I used to hear him at, but it was either in '08 or I think it was '08 for the Ron Paul run. Maybe it was on Fox News or something back then. I can't remember. But whatever the case, I would hear him as a, let's say, right-leaning libertarian that I was. And he would say things, and I'm like, okay, he's kind of close here. He's got some stuff that I agree with. And then someone asked him, I heard called in or something about Ron Paul. And he's like, no, Ron Paul's a joke. And I was so mad. I was like, he's literally the guy that you're being been trying to parrot. You haven't said his name, so this should be your guy if you mean these things you've been saying. And back then I was like, I'll never listen to you again. You're lying. You're a poser, all these things.
Mm.
Now, to your point, I have heard I'm like, okay, he's at least come around. He looks like a bloated kind of alcoholic at times. But
He's a
but
former alcoholic. So,
okay,
yeah.
okay. Back in the day, he was like drawing on this board all the time, and I
Oh, I
just
love the chalkboards.
yeah, heard him call Ron Paul a joke. I was just, it's the naive younger me. I'm like, why isn't Fox News acknowledging him?
Mm.
Um, but it was just sort of shocking in the moment. I was like, wait, I thought this is what you liked.
Well, he was one of the ones pushing the whole idea that if you see a truck driving down the road with a Ron Paul sticker, they might be a domestic terrorist. I remember hearing him say that back in like 2008.
Maybe
You know,
that's okay.
yeah, yeah. So, and that was the only reason I didn't pay Ron Paul any attention in 2008 because I was listening to Glenn Beck all the time, and so I kind of trusted him. I was like, all right, yeah, you know, and so yeah, so that's why I wasn't a Ron Paul supporter when Ron Paul was actually running for president. It was because the things that were coming out of the Fox News media.
Yep.
Because when I got out of the military, Fox News had the best coverage of the war in Iraq. And
Yeah.
I still had all my friends were still going overseas fighting. So I wanted to pay attention to what was going on with the war. So Fox News had 24/7 coverage of it. And so I always watched Fox News. And then I became a fan of like Glenn Beck and Bill O'Reilly. I was never a Hannity guy. He always kind of annoyed me. Um, Megan Kelly, I kind of watched on and off. And, I like her more now that she's got a podcast. She seems a lot more free, a lot more open.
He is.
And I like that a lot. She's actually fairly interesting um,
Yeah.
when she's not trying to meet the script. Oh, I was like, what the hell is that? Um, the squirrel standing next to a chicken and it looked funny. I was like, what the hell's going on? So yeah, some of the characters, have kind of disappeared. I still like Gutfeld, man. I remember watching Red Eye. I
Yeah.
would back in the day, I was driving for a metal company, and we would deliver like big chunks of metal to machine shops in Oklahoma. And so I'd have to stay. We only had day cabs. We didn't have sleepers on our trucks. So I'd have to stay in a hotel. I'd go to Oklahoma City, make
Watch
my
Red Eye.
make my delivery, and I'd come back and I'd stay in Paul's Valley. And there was a little barbecue place across the street from the hotel I stayed at. And so I'd go grab me some barbecue and I'd go eat, drink a beer, go to bed, and I'd wake up. I had to get back on the road around 2 o'clock or so, but I would wake up at like 12:30 in the morning so I could catch red eye before I jumped on the road and left.
Yeah, another good boomer whisperer, Gutfeld. My parents absolutely watch that show religiously. They love it. I get texts. He's got the same sort of dog I have, and so my mom will send me texts of his dog. And
Oh yeah.
honey, he's wearing a Fred Perry like you wear, and it's just cute. It's like I love that you guys love him. Sometimes I'll watch if I'm at their house. I always watch it with them because they're watching it. The humor's a touch boomery sometime, but of course I like wrestling. And what's his name's on there? The big wrestler.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I still, to this day, have a small crush on Kat Timpf, even though some of her libertarian proclivities annoy me now. She's sort of a reasoned-sounding libertarian,
Yeah.
but still have a crush on her.
Yeah, she's cute. And she's actually super funny.
She is, yeah.
Very, very dry. Yeah.
She's so nerdy. She's
Yeah.
really, you can tell she's little and kind of skinny, and she thinks she's, I'm like, she's such a cute little nerd. I love it.
Yeah, I think I heard she just had a baby.
Did, yeah, and had breast cancer. Now we're
Oh,
talking about celebrity gossip. Uh, but it's,
yeah.
yeah,
But
she
no,
had
I'm
breast.
just imagining her that as small as she is, like having a baby.
Kidding.
Like, did you have the baby or did the baby have you? You
Right.
know,
Yeah. Topple forward.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are there before we get off here, we're going to wrap up here in a second, but I want to ask, has there been one surprise of the Trump administration, one disappointment, and one um how would you say one big win?
The sup I I'm going to say all of these in relating. This is kind of a boring answer, but relating to his the people he picked. The surprise is that it does appear that Linda McMahon really is defunding the Department of Education at the federal level. That's also could combine that with the big hit. I'm still a little skeptical. Like, is that really happening? Because again, being a libertarian for since 2000, that was one of the, back then it's like libertarians have kind of boring talking points now, but like when you first get in and you're zealous about it, it's like, yeah, we want the Department of Education. I thought it was so radical, but it's like, dang, I can't believe they are doing that. Um, that I would call that. And then I would say the disappointment might be again, now it's me being spoiled. It's me having a high time preference when I should not do so. The slowness in which RFK is sort of making changes only because I was probably most excited about him out of all the cabinet appointments. I would say I'm answering a few times now that I'm going into this. A surprise would be Marco Rubio being better than I anticipated. A disappointment would be that guy Walls or whatever his name is. They just canned him or
Oh,
put
Mike
him.
Walls. Yeah, they
Yeah,
made him UN ambassador or something like that.
snake in the grass. Clearly, it's like, dude, he worked for Cheney in the Bushes.
Yeah.
Why did you not learn your lesson? Who told you that that was a good idea? I'm certain he's the one that was undermining some things, especially with that group chat or whatever. He comes out and he's like, "Oh, I don't know how I gave whatever that journalist Rosenthal or whatever. I don't know how he
Yeah,
got it.
Jeffrey Goldberg.
Goldberg, that's who it was. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, I know how you're. Maybe boomers don't know what's going on here, but anyone below that who has signal chats, I know how it happens. You
Mhm.
add him to it. Like,
Yeah.
I promise Tommy, if I don't want him in a chat, if we have a group called We Hate Tommy Salmons and he gets added to it, I'm in charge of the group. I added him. It's
Yeah.
so like, dude, we know how you did it. I don't know how
Right.
that.
Now there's okay, so sometimes on Signal, your name on Signal doesn't match your name that's saved into contacts, right?
Yes.
And so the what people are trying to say is that he meant to add Jamison Greer, who's the Secretary of Trade or something like that. Um, and he ended up adding Goldberg, Jonah Goldberg's, because JG was the initials.
Boy, that's a
So
very good PR campaign helped him with that one. Maybe that's true. Again, though, it would still say because you're in these group chats too. Like so and so added.
mm,
It said Jeffrey Goldberg on the thing. I saw the screenshot.
yeah.
So I mean, also maybe this is on Vance and these guys. Like, did
Okay,
anyone?
so I didn't see the screenshot. I
Yeah, it
just
said his
know.
name,
Oh, okay.
and
Okay.
it's like, did anyone want to speak up and go, who's this?
Yeah.
You know, if I was in a group chat and all of a sudden it said Pete Quinones added Nick Fuentes, I'd probably write him and go, did you know that Nick Fuentes is in our, it's just something kind of strange or that
Right.
catch. It's
Yeah.
weird. That was a disappointment. Just that whole, I mentioned that it was kind of not that big of a deal, but it was just strange. And the appointment of Mike Walls when we could have told him, anyone could have told him, Tucker probably did tell him. That was a huge screw up. Those are the thing. Yeah,
What's the biggest win?
I'd say the Department of Education going away. If that's actually happening, it appears to me that it is, unless I'm missing something. I would say I would say not attacking Iran, which it seems like he doesn't want to. It seemed like we were on the precipice of doing, and we didn't. That if that
Did you
was
see
the
the did you see the Dan Caldwell on Tucker?
probably because I catch almost all of those
He
episodes.
was the one he was the one who got released from the Pentagon, who had been friends with.
That one's in my line. I have not heard that one yet.
Okay, it's really good. And he talks about he thinks they tried to accuse him of being a leaker, but he thinks they actually released him because he was against going to war with Iran. So he thinks that the deep state behind the scenes, the voices behind the scenes, are actually up in Pete Hegseth's ear, accusing people that are anti-war of being leakers.
Well, then I'm glad Tucker had him on because I'm certain that he has the ear of probably Pete Hegseth and Trump and Eric Trump and
Yeah.
JD. So that's good to get that out there. So if we were about to do that, which it seemed like it was possible, that would be a big win. And I mean, I thought the ceasefire was a win, but doesn't. It's like it's over.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that didn't last very long.
no,
Yeah.
that's what I would say. The overall, if Doge, I think a lot of what Doge is doing, we won't see for a little bit.
They have to codify
I
like
suspect
all this
that could
stuff.
be a win. What they're doing,
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, maybe in 2 or 3 years we'll see that.
So the biggest surprise to me was hearing Howard Lutnick out on every news program talking about cutting taxes on overtime and
Yes,
how important that is. And I was like, wow. Like, I mean, like overtime, you get killed, you get murdered on overtime.
I just did 2 shifts of overtime, and I have not seen the paychecks yet. I
It's
bet it'll be
it's
better than I expect then.
well, they haven't done it yet, but
Oh, it's
it's supposed to be in this bill.
okay.
Yeah. It's supposed to be in this bill that they're trying to get passed. So, you know, no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime. And just the way Howard Lutnick was out there on every freaking news channel enforcing progressive anchors to say, well, income tax is actually good for working people. Like it's like, yes,
Tariffs are bad. It's
yeah.
like, yeah, okay,
Tariffs are bad, income tax is good.
yeah.
Like, yeah. And it's like, okay, there you go. And just exposing these people for the shills they are, you know, taking the wrong side of every 80-20 issue. So that's been the biggest surprise, I guess. The biggest loss to me is the fact that he it's his communication. Trump's inability to communicate properly the intention of his goals, of his plans.
Yeah.
That
I wonder if that's
that
on.
bug it bugs me because I'll turn on somebody like a Chris Cuomo or Breaking Points, and it's all just nag, 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 and I'm like, yeah, but y'all are jumping to conclusions, and but he leaves them the opening to jump
Yeah.
to those conclusions.
Right.
And it's like, dude, you got to get somebody better out there, communicating with the people because people are listening to these programs and your poll numbers are dropping because your communication skills are so poor. You're
Yeah.
hilarious, you're charismatic, but you're not good at giving a message and of the future. You're not good at packaging that. And he's got to figure out a way to be better at packaging that. And I think JD Vance would be the tool to use.
I was gonna say that. Yeah. Because he is good at it.
Oh, he's great. He's actually, I could have put him in the biggest surprise because he is who I thought he was. And
Mhm.
I never thought that I had this, I can't say I never thought, I had this doubt that JD Vance was who I thought he was. But just like the Chicago Bears, they are who we thought they were. Like he is exactly who he promotes himself to be. And it's like, oh, wow, I like this guy more now than I did, you
Yep.
know? And so
Yeah. Rare
I'd
to
say
say
the
when
biggest
someone
win.
takes office. It's rare
Oh,
to say that because everyone likes them before they take office. It's
mm,
rare to be able to say they're in office. I like them better.
yeah. Yeah. He's better than I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I would
And
agree.
so I'd say the biggest win is the Trump has, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because he's worked around construction workers his entire life and he's been in this kind of like this real estate development world where he feels like the only way to be successful is to keep his word. And he is doing everything possible to keep every campaign promise. And that's a huge win as far as I'm concerned because it's flipping the entire table over.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And his the stuff with the deportations, I mean, I think that's a somewhat of a win. It seems to be not only are they leaving, but they're not coming in anymore, which is a good thing. And the funny part of Trump, someone asked him the other night on a news clip on Matt's show, and they said, "But don't they deserve a due process?" And he goes, "Well, they're getting a process." It's
Well, I mean, well, yeah, but you got to look at what you're asking. Do they deserve due process? Well, what process is due?
right. And his
You
point
know,
was like, there's going to be millions. You have millions of court cases clogging up the court. Like, is that what you want? Yeah, just
right. You
they're
know,
getting
how much money do you want us to spend on this? You know,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. All right, man. Well, plug what you're gonna plug.
Um, let's see. Counterflowpodcast.com store. The store there has the new t-shirts. Let's see. Counterflow Podcast on YouTube channel. And as we record this, I have an episode dropping in an hour and a half. As this drops, there's one that lasted or that dropped 2 days ago as Tommy's show comes out. That's about it. And I'm always happy to chat with Tommy. Make sure you subscribe to his Rumble channel.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate it, Buck. Thank you
All
for
right.
coming on short notice. It's hard with the my manager hates office work so bad that most of the time he doesn't get into the office to make the schedule for next week until Friday before. And so I find out I'm off Monday and Tuesday on Friday.
Okay. Yeah, for a podcaster, that's tough.
So that's what we're working with.
Yep.
But all right, I'm gonna stop the recording.
All right.